Okay, we are live. What's going on, folks at home? We got Tom in here, got Jeremiah, we got Darius, and Jonathan is going to be here in about 20 minutes probably. His kid's got t-ball practice and he's a coach. So as soon as that wraps up, he's going to jump in here and join the stream. So on the other end of this, we've got Keith Carson. So welcome to the show, man. It's good to have you here.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Yeah.
So I wanted to I'm a letter carrier for the Postal Service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I know you got a little bit of background with the UPS.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how long ago was that when you worked for UPS?
I worked for UPS from I started at the peak season of 15, so like December of 15 or so, and then I quit January of 19. So I did 16, 17, 18. So yeah, I guess like 3 years or so, something like that. Yeah, it was rough. It was rough.
So you got to see the Amazon influence.
Yeah. I think Amazon was like, I think do you know the number? They made up 5% of all UPS deliveries, or is it 20%?
I would say it's
okay.
Probably closer to 20. I don't know for sure, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was closer to 20.
Yeah, there's some kind of huge number where we would take Amazon deliveries and stuff, and they like really kept UPS going,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy, man. That was a tough job. It, opened my eyes up, growing up, I hung drywall, painted apartments, had labor intensive jobs. I thought that was tough. Then you go to UPS and like that's where the real work begins. It pays well, it's a collective bargaining union. Everybody makes like 38 an hour, and stuff when you get to the full-time position. It pays really well, but man, they're pushing you right to your 60-hour limit. They're getting their money out of you. So it was an eye opener for me. Once I realized that I couldn't fish, I was like, yeah, I don't think this is the job for me anymore. That's when John called and he's like, hey, I think you need to get out. You're too good at fishing, to be at UPS. And I was like, all right, thanks. Somebody had to tell me,
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean, man. It's like I think you made the right decision, but you get kind of halfway comfortable with what you're doing, and you need somebody to push you out of your comfort zone and say, "Hey, buddy, you don't want to do this the rest of your life. Why don't you chase your dreams and your passion and stuff?"
Right. Yeah, I didn't want to look back and be like, "Dang it, I played it safe,"
Right.
Although that's a great thing to do, But for me, I didn't have kids and stuff, so it worked out so far.
So you live down in Florida. Were you born in Florida, raised in Florida, or what's a little bit of your background? I know you mentioned UPS, but go take us back a little bit further from when you were just a little kid.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I was born in Altamont Springs, Florida, and raised in DeVary, Florida, which is about 30 minutes north of Orlando. I'm 5 minutes from the St. Johns River. So grew up fishing. I learned how to fish at Gemini Springs. I used to ride my bike down there. And that's where I met my friend John Cox, who's also a great tournament angler. We met down there, both have similar stories. No one in either of our family really fished much, if we asked our parents to take us fishing or something, they would, but it's not like, no one really guided us. We kind of would just ride down the Gemini. We figured everything out on our own, how to tie knots and, this and that. And, got into the Teen Angler Sport Fishing Association through high school in 9th grade. And that was where I really started to learn. We had tournaments, we would compete against other high schools. And, actually it was like, man, this is pretty cool, So by 16, I got into the BFLs as a co-angler, fished as a co-angler for a long time, got up to the FLW tour as a co-angler in 2011, was fortunate enough to win one of those. So I was able to see the entire fishing world through the eyes of a co-angler and actually be in the boat with a lot of these pros and see how they fish and how they approach, different waterways and stuff. And that was just so beneficial for me, to go through that whole process the way that I did. And I didn't jump anything, and neither did John. Neither did Cox. Like it wasn't, we didn't jump anything in the process. We went through every step, BFLs, you start at the low level, ABA, you start, club tournaments, of course, all that,
Right, right.
TSA. But then when you start to get more competitive in the draw tournaments, we went through BFLs, ABAs, opens, Toyota series, anything that you could, and make sure that, always want to make sure I was comfortable where I was at, and then was able to win at the level I was at before I advanced to the next level. And so, it feels good having been able to do that this far. So, that was nice. I was always happy where I was. I never felt like I had to go to the next level in fishing. I was always happy wherever I was. And even now, I'm just, loving the NPFL and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So I fish some of the BFLs out of the back of the boat right now, with hopes and plans to move up to the front of the boat soon. I just need to do it. But what made you? When did you decide? Hey, it's time to actually move from the back up to the front.
It was just a long process, sort of. I fished co-angler from 04 to like 12 or so, almost 8 years, with, and then still running the boat in club tournaments and all that, and ABAs in between all that. But it got to the point where when I was fishing like FLW tour and fishing with, some great anglers, and it got to where I started to get that thought in my head, like, I think I can hang with these guys, and not just like, having this inflated ego or something that was unrealistic, but, actually just, sometimes catching more than the pros would out of the back of the boat, and, or just catching, hanging with other co-anglers, catching fish out of the back of the boat behind these guys. And, and then of course practicing with John Cox for a lot of these tournaments, and, seeing how he approached water and stuff like that. Just being a part of the game, being a part of the process, being in there and, figuring things out, just taking it one day at a time, and just let it lead you wherever it does, and, it's kind of hard to explain, I guess, but it's, it's just a long process. You get out there and learn as much as possible and put all your effort into it, and see what happens.
Yeah. It's funny. My buddy, Frank Williams, he's fishing the Bassmaster Opens out of the back of the boat, and he's going to be fishing all 3 divisions next year. He drew John Cox, this year, and he said that dude's so laid back. I think he had like just a couple bags of tackle and a few rods in the boat, because I mean he was traveling. He fished, his schedule was just crazy this year. I can't remember what tournament it was, but Frank said he literally had probably $200 worth of tackle and a few rods, and kept it super, super simple, and just, was laid back. And, so I guess, having him to learn from, or learn with, or, share information with, I guess it just kind of, you probably chill and relaxed in whatever situation you come into. You just kind of let it happen. Is that something?
Yeah.
Am I along the right lines with John's mental attitude about fishing?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, 100%. It's like, that's it. Just let everything happen. You don't want to force anything when you're approaching fishing. But I have the saying, like, kind of let the fish reveal themselves to you. And then when you start to figure things out, then you can get dialed in and, start pinpointing them as the day goes on and stuff. But John's just so laid back. He'll just bring a couple baits, look at the weather, decide how he thinks he wants to fish that day, and
Lift his finger and hold it up and check the
pretty
wind.
much. Yeah. He just keeps it as simple as possible, which is a really smart thing to do, because given, at this day and age, when I started fishing like 20 years ago, there wasn't as many baits out as there is now. There was new things coming out. There was always stuff changing. When I started flipping, the first bait I ever flipped with, I think, was an Allen crawl. I don't know if you remember those. They were
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was really hard plastic, and they were like little 3 inches. I used to flip them. Terrible looking crawl. but man, we caught the crap out of them on that thing. And, there just wasn't a whole lot of stuff to use back then in the early thousands. And, so now there's so much to choose from. And it's like, instead of having too many options and having your boat loaded with stuff, you just bring a couple things, a couple different colors, bring some watermelon, bring some black and blue, some green pumpkin. And that's like all you really need, anywhere in the nation, just a couple colors and, keep it simple. And you're either going to catch them or you're not, if,
Yeah.
it's not that often. Like if say I'm on a great group of fish, and I learned this fishing co-angler too. Like let's say I'm on a really good group of fish and I have a co-angler with me. There's so many times where I'm catching them on something and he's catching them on something completely different. And when you're just around them, you're around them. And color and all that shouldn't matter that much, unless it's extremely finicky fish or something. But yeah, so that's kind of John's mindset,
That's good. I mean, you're right, because you can get spun out trying to change different baits and stuff. So you kind of think, for the most part, I mean, I know there's no absolutes in bass fishing, but if you go through like an area and say you're flipping a crawl and you're not getting bit, say it's a June bug color, something darker, will you change to say a green pumpkin color, or will you make an adjustment to like the actual profile of the bait, or will you just go on and just assume there's no fish in the area because you didn't get bit? Because that's hard to do. That's like it's like, we're always wondering, am I throwing the wrong stuff? Do I need to just go through like 10 different baits, or the fish just aren't biting,
Right.
Which one is it,
Well, it's so like for me, I go through a process where let's say it is a color issue, right? And I'm not getting bit. In order for me to change colors and to stick it out, I need some information telling me that the fish are there. So either there needed to be a ton of fish there in practice in like the day prior, not the weekend before, because that doesn't mean anything, and not 2 days before even, because that doesn't mean much either. Like fish move extremely fast, and they change. A lot of times they don't even move, but their mood changes fast. And something I've been studying a lot is like the fish's moods, as best as I can, just trying to get to know them more. So for example, I answer your question. So if I were to change colors and stay on an area, I would need to see signs that the fish were there, meaning I flip in. Often when I'm flipping, I actually hit fish. I can feel my bait going over their back. And so I need to hit the fish and feel them, or flip in, like let's say I'm flipping duckweed, right? And I flip in and I'm seeing the duckweed move and like floating, but I'm not getting bit. So then that's a clear indication that, okay, they're here and my weight's too much. Maybe I need to downsize in weight, downsize in size of my crawl, or change colors, or all of them, So that's where you just kind of just start trying stuff, see what gets some bites. And then go from there. But if I was going down a bank, just flipping, didn't see signs of fish, no brim, nothing moving, and I'm not getting bites, then I'm just gonna leave. I'm just gonna bail on it and say, all right, start over, move on to something else.
Yeah, that's a good answer, man. That makes sense. You gotta see some sign of life, because I mean, I was talking to, when we were talking earlier today about, I've been trying to make this punching thing happen yesterday, and man, there's bait. There's like those little, like the little shore minnows are up there, but you're not seeing the big shad. You're not even seeing, 2-inch shad in there. There's a little bit of life, but
Yeah.
you're just not hearing what you need to hear. And I kept trying to make it happen, and I kept proving to myself that I was right by thinking that wasn't anything up there, because I kept jumping around into different spots. And I think that's one of the things that separates guys like me that don't fish nearly as much as you. You guys are able to make those decisions quite a bit quicker. Even though your gut's saying, well, obviously you're not hearing any brim sucking, off the top of the water. You're not seeing any blow ups. You might just kind of get in the habit of just continue to go down the bank, even though you're probably not doing the right thing, where, guys that are out there on the water quite a bit more, they're like, this place is dead. I'm moving on, or I'm going to slide out deeper because it's just not happening,
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's the move. Yeah, just getting to know when to make those decisions, and the timing and stuff. And part of that was all the years I fished co-anglers. A part of that is, a lot of times when I fish co-anglers, I actually enjoyed drawing guys who bombed and did terrible, because I would see exactly what not to do. And
Mhm.
oftentimes it would ruin my day, but that's okay. I'd go fish an open. I spend $350 to fish 2 days. If I don't cash a check, it's a learning experience. It's like not very much to go fish with a pro. If you were to pay someone to do a charter, you're going to spend, 500 a day minimum. So like, to me, this was just always a great investment. And watching the guys who did terrible, I learned more than I did from any of the guys I ever fished with that did great or were leading tournaments or anything like that. And sometimes I drew guys that were around fish and didn't even know it, and that's happened before, where I've caught them really good and doing something they were, throwing out another way or something, but
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just that co-angler stuff, man. It is beneficial, to jump in the opens and BFLs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm enjoying it too. You do learn a lot. You learn a lot about, especially if you fish. Like I fished the LBL division for a while, which is Kentucky and Barkley Lakes, and then the last couple of years I've been fishing the Ozark division, which is Table Rock and Truman and Lake of the Ozarks. So and I've thought about jumping down in like the I'm not sure what division would be, like the Choo Choo division, where maybe they fish, Gunnersville and Chick and those lakes down there, just to kind of
Yeah.
look at some new water, So you learn the different fisheries, and if nothing else, you learn how to navigate around the lake by somebody that, hopefully knows where they're going. So
Right. Hopefully, yeah.
yeah, hopefully, yeah. So let me check these comments here, guys out there. If you got some comments here or some questions for Keith, go ahead and load them up, and we'll start asking these questions. I see a couple on here. I just want to say hi to everybody. Stephanie's on here. Darius, what's up, man? Billy, good to see you on here. Andy, Bass RX, got Eric from Hawgz, Tom, and we are going to be doing a giveaway a little bit later, so we'll listen for the secret question or secret comment or whatever you want to call it. Muddy Udders is on here. Mike Russell. Mike's got a question for you. He says, what lure have you possibly caught yourself trying to force feed the bass?
Geez, so I can do that. I've done that with every lure, but lately, lately I've done that with the Chappo. There's times I'll throw the Berkeley Chappo and it's just on fire, and it's just, man, they're crushing it. It's so much fun. And then sometimes in the same day, conditions change, and then I can't get bit on it, but I'll be stubborn and stick with it, trying to get one to blow up on it. That Chappo is one that I struggle with. Swim jig is one that I struggle with. It's hard to put down, because a swim jig, that's a thing where, I pick it up and I fish all day, and I'm really fishing for 5 to 8 bites all day long. And so, meaning you're always going to have periods of dead time where it's like 2 hours without a bite. That's a typical day. There's days I'll catch, good 25-pound bags, and I'm getting 5 to 8 bites. And I have periods where it's just dead for hours, and it's like, it's hard to know when to pick it up, when to stick with it, and when to put it down. And I think that's a part of fishing, just, navigating through those struggles and learning when to make the right decisions, or the better decisions,
Well, a swim jig, I fish a swim jig a lot too, and I've got confidence in it enough to keep throwing it. But I would say it's a lot more versatile than a Chappo, because you're down, you're subsurface and you can fish it deep. You can kind of burn it. You can do a lot more with it. So I would say, I mean, I can see why you would want to keep that in your hand. What's some of your favorite trailers on a swim jig?
Oh man, I like the Berkeley Chigger Crawl. That's
Yeah.
a good one. That just came out, and it's in Max scent. they're just loving that thing right now. Yeah, it's designed for flipping, but you put it on the new jig that they've got, and when you swim it, the kickers are just, oh, it's just tons of action. The fish are
Yeah.
really eating it. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like a crawl on a swim jig too. You can keep it up, like especially if you're fishing really shallow, you can really slow it down. It just gives it some good lift, and you can really slow it down and keep it in that strike zone a little longer. Mike Russell
yeah.
says, "What's your favorite size, Chappo?"
So I just started throwing the 75 millimeter, and it's a
Okay.
smaller one, and it's awesome. It's a little Chappo, but with the fat body, and it's extra buoyant. And the tail is designed differently than the 90 millimeter. It makes a different sound, and they are hitting it so hard. And it's easy to throw, and it's small, and you can like get it into little tight places and stuff. So when
Yeah.
skipping it, not skipping it, but just like slinging it in there. Yeah, that's a good one.
So what's a couple of your favorite colors?
I like the I throw a bone, and then they have a clear one that's really good, and then they have actually I forgot to grab some. I don't think I have any in here, but and then the I think Ghost Morning Dawn. It's like a clear. It's like a, you see through it, but it's like a brim colored.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, those are good. Um, yeah, same thing. Keep it simple. Just a couple colors. You know,
That bone, man,
just
bone's good in just anything.
yeah, anything. Yeah, yeah. You just throw a bone. You can just throw a bone anywhere in the nation and catch fish.
I've got
Yeah.
I got an old Smithwick Rogue, and I was just kind of looking through my jerkbaits a while ago because I love jerkbait fishing, and I can't wait for it to start going down. But I've got one it's like a black back, it's orange on the side, and it's got a little bit of orange belly, but it's got so many hook rash marks on it that some of the bones starting to come through, and
Yeah.
it makes it look even better. And in fact, I'm thinking
Hmm.
about maybe having some baits painted that color because it just looks like an old beat up shad, it's been roughed up and
Yeah.
caught, sucked in and pushed back out a couple times, and somehow he survives. It's just got that good look to it.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. The more fish you catch, the better baits get sometimes.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Hmm.
No doubt. So let's dive into some NPFL stuff. You're having an excellent year. You're sitting second in points. I think you're 4 or 5 points out of first, and you've got one more tournament coming up. So far, what are your thoughts of the NPFL as far as how it's
Okay.
run, and is it a good time? You enjoying it and everything?
Yeah, yeah. So far, man, the NPFL has just been one of the best trails I've been a part of. It's ran really well. Um, it's we started off, so they do a thing where everyone trailers every day through the weigh-in. So uh, let's roll back to the first tournament of the year. We had March Eufaula. We
Okay.
had our pre-tournament meeting, and we're going over how we're all going to do a trailered weigh-in. And a lot of guys are confused. A lot of guys have never done this. I've done it a few times. When I've made top tens in the opens, we do trailered weigh-ins and stuff, and it's never easy, I'd say.
Yeah.
But they do it so well. It's perfect. It's like I don't even want to fish another tournament where I don't do a trailered weigh-in now because it's so nice. It's like you come in, and when you check in, you come to the dock, and there's nobody. There's boat parking anywhere. It's easy because the guys in the flights before you have already pulled their boat out of the water. So it's like no problem parking your boat. You go get your truck, you leave your fish in the live well, you immediately put the boat on the trailer, and then you get in the line to go weigh in, and that can be longer, 30 or 40 minutes sometimes. But it's fine because you're strapping up your boat, you're rigging up your rods, getting ready for the next day while you're in the line. And then right before you get up to the stage, the fish master gets in your boat, he checks your fish while they're in your live well. Any ones that look small, he'll pull them out and measure them. And then they give you a mesh bag. You put your fish in the mesh bag before you go through weigh-in. It's this great process. It works so well. When you weigh in, you get off stage, and you're done. Your boat's on the trailer, and then you're off to your hotel. Like, it's saving, every angler is saving hours of time a day versus, the other ones, how they go, you park your boat, you get in line, wait for a bag, you know, you grab your fish, then you get in line to weigh your fish, and then you get in line to get your truck. It's like it's amazing. I can't believe that another organization hasn't figured out how to do this 20 years ago, because it's just so great. It's just, you know, nobody's stressed out. Like, all of our guys, we're all just having a great time. You know, we're competitors, but we're not like cutthroat. You know, no one's irritated because of all the waiting and stuff that you do in the other tournaments. I mean, first year, I'm impressed. You know, that's all. You know, that's all I can really say. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with their production, everything. It's just ran really well. You know, it's a bunch of military guys who run it. You know, so they're
Right.
like, yeah, it's like, you know, it's ran the way it should be. To be honest, yeah, it's nice.
I like that. You know what you said about the fish, that's better on the fish, I think, because they're staying in the live well. You know, a lot of people don't realize this, and I didn't think about it until the last couple of years, but when you take water, and just say you take water out of your live well and put 5 fish in there, and you're standing in line. I mean, a lot of places have the little bubbler system that you put the bubbles in the bag, but if you're just standing there, basically there's not but a couple minutes of good oxygen in that water for those 5 fish while you're standing there. So keeping them in that live well as long as possible, that just makes sense. So
Yeah.
So is somebody driving your tow vehicle after you get close to the stage, or how's that work?
Yeah. So how that works is, so I drive it at first. Like when there's a line, let's say there's 20 boats and trucks in the line.
Okay.
Just for the story. So let's say there's 20 guys. So when I'm in the back of the line, I'm driving my truck, and it's kind of just like in the morning, you know, like when you're getting ready to put the boat in the morning before blast off at a tournament setting. You know, you get out, you pull your straps off, you know, you're doing a couple things, and then you notice the guy in front of you's maybe pulled up 3 or 4 car lengths or so.
Right.
So then you get back in, you pull up, and then you go back and you do some more rigging. So you know, that's kind of what I was meaning, where when you first get in line, you know, you put all your straps on and stuff, and then you're just cleaning up the boat, getting rid of stuff, retying, pull up a little bit, retie another rod, get a couple things ready, and maybe you don't finish all your rods, but you still get a head start, you know, and you know, and then like you said, it's better care for the fish. They don't come out of the live well. I keep the bubblers, keep the aerators going, all that stuff while it's on the trailer. It's just like, it's a brilliant business plan, and just, you know, way to, you know, to weigh the fish and everything. And then it's better for the anglers, the guys, their sponsors on their trucks and boats. They're getting coverage as they come. Everyone comes through weigh-in. You get to see everybody's truck and boat. It's just, you know, everything's better. I don't see one negative of it that I can find in 5 tournaments so far.
I like the 3 days. I think that's really cool, man. That is really, really cool, because you feel like you're never really out of it, you know.
Yeah.
It's
That's true. I mean,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I believe they might add a cut next year, because, well, you know, it's something I thought about, that maybe we'd have enough data by the end of the year to where they could see who made the biggest jump from being out of a check to cashing a check on day 3. And then maybe they could make the cut around that or something, because, you know, that is a feir of mine. Or say I don't catch them 2 days and I'm in like 100th, I'm like, I don't want to go fish day 3. You know?
Yeah, I guess I was being a little more optimistic. Like you've caught a few the first day, you caught a few the second day, and you just need a really big bag to cut that check. I know like a 2-day tournament, like the Toyota Series stuff. You can have a really bad day one day and just smash them the next day and cut a check easily. So it's always nice to have a second day to rebound.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Let me see if we got any questions in here for you. Here's one. I'm sure you've got this one before. What's your PB and what's your favorite lake?
My personal best is 13.5.
Boom.
I caught on the Harris chain of lakes here in Florida. I caught on an Alabama rig. And then wait, what was the next question? My favorite
Your
lake?
favorite lake besides the lake you caught the 13-pounder out of?
Oh man, I've got a lot of favorite lakes.
Yeah.
I'd say my favorite of all time is probably Lake Champlain, upstate New York up there. I haven't been there in years, but I just always have a great time going there. Love that place. Catch lots of fish, and I like the way it sets up and stuff. That's a fun one.
Yeah, I want to get up to some of those lakes. I got to fish Mille Lacs this year, but I want to fish St. Clair, and there's a bunch of them I want to fish. Because there's 5 or 6 lakes up there that. Well, there's more than 5 or 6, but
Yeah.
5 or 6 popular ones that just have 25-pound sacks swimming around everywhere up there.
Right.
So, okay, so let's continue on the NPFL. Let me see. I wrote a couple things down here just to remind me. Okay, yeah, Wright Patman. So you won Derby on Wright Patman this year. Let's dive in a little bit into that tournament. Like, I'm always curious about practice periods, like when somebody shows up to a lake, because that was a new lake for most people. Was that a new lake for you too?
Yeah, never been there. No one's ever fished there. There's no information on it. So that was one where I studied the map a lot, looked at depth contours, and just studied it as much as I could for hours and hours, and just got to know. Felt like I knew the lake really well before I was ever even on it, and then when I got out there for practice, I could just kind of run stuff, just run areas. And, I knew where it was deep and knew where, there were shallow flats and stuff like that. And so I'd go find some of the best looking wood, and I'd put my trolling motor down, and I'd just flip down the entire stretch and figure out, which trees were deeper, which ones were shallower, which ones stuck out further, which trees had thicker bases and more root systems to them. Where limbs were touching the water. And basically all I'm doing is figuring out where every single bite is going to come from on every tree. I don't ever want to approach a tree in a tournament setting where I'm going to fish it and I don't know where the bite's going to come from, because then I'm going to pick apart the tree way too long, and I'm not going to have my bait in front of as many fish as I could if I know where the bites are going to come from on the tree. Same thing with dock fishing. You'll hear guys that are like, when you fish, like, let's say you're on a reservoir where there's floating docks and they have the cables in the back of them. You'll hear
Lake
a lot of those guys.
Lake of the Ozarks is the prime example.
Right. And then a lot of the best dock fishermen, you'll hear, you got to put the time in and go around the back. You gotta skip it back where those cables are, and it's like, they know what cast to make is what they're saying, They know, you can maybe get one off the front or the side or here, but if you go around the back, that's where the big bites are from, and that's kind of how I approach trees or grass or, anything that I'm fishing, honestly, just trying to dial it in, that's part of that process there.
So let's say we're talking trees, like is in a lay down.
Right, laydowns, yeah.
And you're you're pitching in a lay down. So you'll find they're at the fork, or they're out on the ends, or they're, midway. So how do you start? Like, where's your first pitch going to be when you approach a lay down?
So like if it's in practice, I fish pretty fast and I pass over a lot of fish. I know I do, and purposefully, and just try to fish quickly, and I hit many different things. Whatever looks obvious to me, maybe on that particular tree, is what I'll fish, and then see where the bites come from and how aggressive they are, and then I can start to factor in maybe how I want to fish. So if they're pretty aggressive if they're pretty aggressive bites, I'll fish faster. Say I'm flipping and they're just those times like when you're flipping laydowns, and as soon as you flip up to a tree, your bait goes through the water and immediately your line's already racing out to open water. And then you get 4 or 5 bites in a row like that. And then it's like, okay, they're eating pretty darn good, So then you can pick up a chatterbait or pick up a buzz bait or something. And then you can like parallel and run it down the entire lay down versus flipping to, your high percentage points. And then that's the time that you can really start to crush them. you know, when you figure stuff like that out. But then those days that they're not eating good and you have to flip it right to them and figure out where they're sitting, you know, that can depend on water level. If the water level is high, they're going to be in the back. If it's low, they'll be more towards the front. So a lot of that stuff can factor in that way.
So Wright Patman has a bunch of wood, and you were kind of keying on the wood. Is that how you started your practice?
Yeah, I was keying in on the wood. When practice started, the water was 3.5 feet higher. It dropped 3.5 feet through a 6 or 7 day period between practice and tournament. So
and this is in May too. Is that right?
April. Yeah.
April. Okay, so
the fish were spawning.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the water was like 64 to 68 or so throughout that week. I figured they were spawning. And I just kind of marked which trees were deeper, knowing that the water was dropping. So I was already preparing for days 2 and 3, way before the tournament started. I was just preparing for the water to be dropping and what decisions am I going to make. And so each day as the water dropped, it dropped faster than I anticipated. So on day 1, I caught them all flipping wood, and day 2, and I caught half of them flipping and half of them on chatterbait. And day 3, I caught all of them on chatterbait because I couldn't even flip. It was less than 1 foot deep. So then I started throwing the chatterbait, just waking it right under the surface, and they were crushing it. And so you know, I just had to keep adjusting as the water was dropping and not force anything, and just let the fish tell me. You know, when it began to get so shallow that I'd flip, and I noticed I was spooking a lot of the fish because it was that shallow. And that's when I was like, okay, I gotta chatterbait or, you know, cast to them. And I chose the chatterbait because the water was extremely dirty. You could see maybe 3 to 6 inches or so. Pretty nasty. Yeah. So that was what made me choose the chatterbait. And, you know, so that got it done that last day.
Did you pretty much stay in the same areas, or did you ever have to expand outside of the areas you found in practice?
Yeah, I did have to expand. I had some competitors come in on me after I was leading the first day. And so I just had to leave. You know, you can't argue with them or, you know, force them off your stuff really. So I just left and just started fishing new stuff. And yeah, that was kind of the only thing I was thinking. Was I was like, you know, it sucks that when guys pull in on you like that, but I knew in the back of my mind, I prepared for all of that through that whole week of practice. I was like, I'm prepared for this, and let's see if I can make it happen. So I ran new water every day, and I fished like about a 4-mile section. So both sides of a creek, by the boat ramp, by the dam, this huge area, and I just kept moving. And anytime I didn't see any boats, I'd pull in an area and fish. So, you know, I was just kind of hitting what was open.
We got a visitor.
What is up?
Let me
Hey.
There we go. Move this camera. This is Jonathan. This is Keith.
What's up, man?
What's up, John? Hey, how are you, man?
Good. Just got done with ball practice.
Oh, good deal.
Yeah.
First 8U ball practice for my boys. So
congratulations.
Nice. It was
is that T-ball or that's
no, this pitching? Is pitching machine, and this is their first experience with it. So 42 mile an hour pitching machine at 8 years old. I had about 5 kids hit the ball, make contact, and that was it.
Yeah.
That is moving for them.
It's
so.
It's gonna take a bit.
I don't think I could hit the ball at 42 miles an hour.
when I first let go of that pitching machine, I was like, oh Lord, that is quick.
Yeah.
So
I was watching some YouTube stuff the other night, and there's actually a pitcher that throws a 40-something mile an hour ball.
Really?
Yeah. It's like they call it a curveball, but it's just kind of a blooper. And you can see guys just waiting and waiting. And waiting.
That timing is all
either
off.
They just crack it and it doesn't go anywhere because it doesn't have the, you know,
there's no
or they just whiff, you know.
But, yeah, that's so funny.
Well, sorry I'm late.
No, I'm glad.
No.
Is it raining out there or anything?
No.
Okay.
I'm sweating though.
Yeah, I bet it's raining out there. Brock has a good question. When you're practicing, when do you stop sticking or hooking a fish in that area? 15-incher, 2 to 3 pounders, one good 4 to 5 pounder? When do you start shaking them loose? What's your thoughts on that?
So I practice in a lot of different ways. So like if I'm in an area where, you know, if I don't think the area is going to replenish very well, I'll shake the fish off. But then I won't plan to fish that area for more than one day in the tournament. You know, so like for example at Winnebago where we just were, I caught every fish that bit and throughout all of practice, and I just wanted to see what could the lake handle. Like how big were the fish, you know, things like that. How well were they eating? You know, were they spitting up brim? Um, Things like that. And then also it helps me because I want to find areas that can replenish and can hold large amounts of fish because I'm fishing for multiple days. And if I'm worried that I catch a couple too many and it's going to hurt myself for the tournament, then it's probably not somewhere I want to fish for the next 3 days, you know. So
Right.
that's not a very good outlook for a 3-day tournament. So so yeah, it depends. And then like if it's during the spawn, I'm going to shake a lot more fish off because it's so likely that they're going to be on a bed and can go back to the bed, even if I can't see them on bed, you know. Like for example, for example, at Wright Patman back in April when I won, I shook off almost all of those fish that bit because I assumed they were spawning. I did catch a couple. I caught like a 7 in practice. I caught a couple 6s. I shook off one that like might have been like 10 or something, and I saw it swimming on the surface. I pulled it
Cool.
up to the surface, and so yeah, so that's an example where I'm going to shake off all of them. And then like summertime, like a few weeks ago, I catch almost all of them. So I try different ways, and I never stop trying new things. You know, my thing is you know, always having an open mind, and you know, let the lake reveal itself to me, and I'll figure it out somehow.
Speaking of open mind, is there a certain technique or something that you've been working on this year?
Yeah, so you know, I feel like I've got most of my mechanics down, you know, as far as how I cast and, you know, hook set and everything. And I feel like I've been working hard on that for many years. So for the last few years, for me to have an open mind, so like 2020, I worked on having a quick memory because for me, I used to not have a quick memory. Like, let's say I lost a 7-pounder in a tournament, I would think about it the rest of the day. And I was like, if I had that fish, and if I didn't do this, and if I would have done that differently, I would have caught that fish. And that's just going to send you down this negative mindset and spiral down that it's really hard to get out of. And that's never benefited me in a tournament. And so I was listening to a podcast. It might have been Joe Rogan or something. And he started talking about, man, having a quick memory has benefited my life so much. And I just thought about it. And it's so true. And so I really worked on that through 2020. And I'd lose a big fish. And now I've gotten to the point where I can lose one and I'll just laugh about it. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, that's going to happen because I know that my mechanics are as best as I can possibly make them as of right now. And I practice a lot, you know, casting and I'm a shallow water guy. So I'm like target specific. So I'm always practicing, like hitting my mark through practice and tournament and stuff like that. So, you know, so yeah, so like a part of having an open mind is working on stuff like that. So, you know, last year I worked on a quick memory. This year I'm working on, you know, how I want to go through practice, shaking fish off and hooking them. And then also how many fish do I want to catch in the tournament? Do I want to deplete my area and then just worry about catching them somewhere else the next day? Do I want to conserve it some? So, you know, I'm working on some of those kinds of things this year. And so far just been depleting everything all year long. You know, wherever I go, I catch
a lot
every single
more
fish.
fun that way.
Oh, it's so much more fun. Yeah, like I remember at Wright Patman, I had 25 pounds in like the first hour. It was just awesome. I ran every tree that I had the biggest bites on, and I was running and gunning like right off the bat, and had 25, and I never let up the rest of the day. Like I was like, nope, you know, I'm not gonna stop. And I lost one that was like 10 or something in the afternoon that would have put me over 30, but you know, that's just part of it. You know, it's just I think I like fishing that way a little bit better, and it might hurt me in the future, but I don't know.
I like what you said about having that quick memory, and you made that comment. You start laughing when you lose a big one, 7, 8, 9, 10 pounder. Just laugh about it, because the way I look at it is, I got that one to bite. I can get another one to bite.
Right.
It only takes that one to make that difference. So just to let it go and keep it on.
Yeah, and it doesn't do any good to hold on to it.
No,
I mean, it's done.
It's done. It's over with.
And like you said, all it's doing is gonna make it worse. I mean, anything in life that you water is gonna grow. So whatever you're feeding energy to, it's just gonna take over. And the more you feed it, the more it's gonna grow. So
I didn't know I was getting into a deep conversation.
This is next level stuff, man. Because that's
it's true. Yeah,
it's true, man. Yeah,
for sure.
And that's what fishing becomes, that after you've done it for a while, after you got your mechanics down and you kind of understand your bait selection in certain areas and times of the year, it becomes a mental game. And that's the part that I think me and him work on that all the time. It's making those on the water decisions. You know, it's that, to me, that's the toughest thing. Is we kind of touched on it a while ago, like how, you know, when to stay, when to go, and how to slow down in an area or change a bait in an area and pick out an area that's worth fishing. It's like all that stuff that's what consumes me now, versus am I throwing the right bait or not? It's more about, you know, what am I missing here? Am I missing anything? Is it just not, is there nothing here to miss? I need move on, and you know what I'm saying? You can, your mind's working all the time. And
right. I go through all those same questions in my head.
For me, when practice doesn't work, it's, you know, when you get there in the tournament and practice isn't working, what do you do? That's the hardest hurdle to
have you ever encountered that, you know, coming into a tournament and you just don't feel like you really found anything to go off of?
Oh,
you really have a starting spot, or, you know, what? So how do you handle that?
Yes, all the time. Yeah, man, I can't tell you how many times practice is just awful. Well, the way I handle that is I take the information that I have, which isn't much, but what I know is I know where not to go, and I know what baits not to throw. But there's also like the factor that maybe I was throwing the right baits and was just in the completely wrong area. So I just stick with, all right, I know where not to go. And so if it's day one of the tournament and I haven't caught anything in practice, I'm just going to start fishing new water, you know, and just, I don't know, just go wing it and go for it. And that has worked so well for me. And there's times that I still don't catch them, and I just bomb tournaments, and that happens. But it's like, so I think that I remember in 2014 when it first worked for me, I had terrible practice. Nothing was going well. I was fishing in ABA. I ran all the way to Kissimmee and just started running until I found something that looked good, and ended up catching like 16 pounds. And I didn't do great. I got like 10th or something. But man, it from thinking that I could possibly zero to getting like a 10th with 16 pounds was huge. And it was that day, I remember thinking while I was running, I realized, you know, I might not catch anything to where I'm going because I don't know exactly what I'm going to, but I'll die if I stay and fish what I fished in practice. I'll definitely die and bomb. So like, you might as well just go and take a chance, you know, and don't think about all the what ifs, like, because I struggle with that, you know, what if I don't catch anything? What if this and what if that? But just, you know, just think about what might happen if it works. And sometimes it does. So, you know, it's a hard mindset to get into, but it's the right way to look at it, I think, you know?
Yeah, I think it's, you get fresh water is a fresh start. You know, it's, sometimes you can just, if you go through an area and you're grinding, you're fishing slow and it's just not happening, sometimes your best thing you can do is just pull the trolling motor up and just take off and run and look for something, you know, just look around.
Get out of there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say the problem we have around here is we fish a lot of the same lakes. So we got a lot of history, and it's like, sometimes I've caught fish so many places on these lakes, And at the same time, I feel like there's not a single fish in the lake. Sometimes it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, I've caught fish here, but yeah, I just don't feel like I can go anywhere in this lake right now and catch a fish. Where I wish a lot of times I was on a new body of water and you can just take off and run and you don't see anything that has any kind of history. You can just fish free and go by the seat of your pants.
You tried that a couple years ago. You decided to clear all the waypoints out of your graph.
Yeah, I did. I got mad. I got mad last year. I just like, I'm getting rid of all these waypoints, and I just deleted everything. And yeah,
you got them all back.
I got a lot of them back. A lot of them I knew where to go anyway. But yeah, I was just trying to get a fresh mindset.
Right. Yeah. Start over. Yeah.
Start over, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
But how many times have you won practice? I mean, we all win. We all win practice. That sometimes, and you laugh, but that tournament day that you're struggling on, or you have no idea, just go practice.
Yeah.
Just go catch some fish and practice.
Right.
Yeah.
Find that new area. So.
Right. Yeah. It's not good winning practice. I've done it, and it sucks. It sucks coming in and you got like 10 pounds or 5 pounds, and it's like, man, yesterday I had, 25 pounds or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that, getting the draw as a co-angler. You'll sometimes draw a boater and you meet him at the meeting, and he comes up with his phone and he's showing you all these pictures of 5-6 pounders that he caught yesterday. He's like, look at it, man, I'm on them, dude. I caught all these yesterday.
Yeah.
They're not going to bite tomorrow.
No, not going to catch them tomorrow.
The best boater to get was the guy that's like, I'm not really on anything. We're just going to go fishing today. Hey, that sounds good to me.
Right. Yeah, just go out there and have a good time, and good things happen often,
For
sure.
So how are you feeling about the final tournament of the season?
So, well, I mean, I've never been to Grand. I don't know much about it. I've studied the map for, I think I'm about 6 hours in studying the map so far, and that's not nearly enough. I need to do a lot more. And then I think I've watched a couple YouTube videos, and it looks awesome. There is like laydowns, there is docks, there's rocks. I mean, it's just insane. It looks really good. So I'm excited to go there. I'm excited to check it out. From what I hear, it's not going to take a ton of weight. I think it's fishing pretty tough now. I've heard from one of the guys that they're up there for pre-practice, and he said, 15 a day could possibly win the tournament. So you might see a guy catches like 20 and then 10 and then, 10 or something else, or 12 or whatever. But, so, it looks good. It looks like it, we're going to have guys fishing offshore. We're going to have guys doing brush piles. You're gonna have guys shallow. You're gonna see a little bit of everything, and Grand Lake's got some big ones in it. So, hopefully we'll see some big ones get caught.
Yeah, I think I've never been there, but I know a little bit about it, and I think it's gonna play into your strong suit for sure. You're gonna have lots of targets to pick apart, lots of, docks and brush and just that kind of stuff. So
right.
That's a good deal, man. You just need to top 10, top 20, and you'll be right there. I mean, you're what are you, 5 points out, I think?
Yeah, 5 points out of the lead. So, depending on where Brandon Perkins finishes, so I'm hoping for a top 5, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I've never been there, so we'll see.
Yeah, you can't think about that anyway. Didn't you guys have a championship?
Yeah, then we have a championship 5 weeks after that. And we don't know where yet. That hasn't been announced, but it's going to be great. There's 25 guys. They take the top 25 from points, and that's it.
Okay.
And so like our championship is going to be like, fishing like a John boat club tournament or something. There's nobody in it, so it's going to be great. Last place gets a check.
I wonder with that if they'll choose a smaller venue. Then
that'd be cool, like 10,000 acre lake or less.
Well, that's what we were hoping. We don't know. We've talked about it. We spoke of maybe going to Headwaters here in Florida. You got 25 guys. Like, go to an awesome fishery.
Right.
You know, there was I think someone mentioned Possum Kingdom in Texas is supposed to be just loaded. Lake of the Pines is supposed to be loaded, where like everyone should catch 20 pounds. But I don't know if that's going to happen. We spoke about it, but it's all yeah, they know where we're going, but we don't yet. So so we'll see. Maybe they'll announce it at Grand Lake.
I like the fact that you guys aren't in the season up north. That's
Yeah.
just personal.
Yeah,
Those
nice,
weights
you
are
know,
always so tight up there. It's just you catch 22 pounds and you're sitting in like 40th place. Jeez,
I know,
I
it's
just caught
crazy.
22 pounds of
I know, man.
smallmouth.
Jeez.
Yeah, you know, it's unreal, man. There's so many giants up there. Yeah, it's fun.
Oh,
Let's see what we got on here. We got any more questions coming through? Oh, Tom's got a question. He says, Keith, how often do you pick up a crankbait? Why and how do you decide?
Oh, I love crankbait. Crankbaits are crankbaits, so I decide to pick up a crankbait when they're not eating like a spinnerbait or chatterbait, or they're short striking it, or a buzzbait or something like that. And that would again be like if I'm throwing it down rocks or wood or you know, some kind of structure. And so, you know, that's when I'll pick up the crankbait and like a square bill, you know, something that can deflect off of the wood. And then, so what happens is when they slap at it, at least you have a chance to hook them. And you don't hook them well and you lose a lot of them, but at least you got a chance, and it's better than, you know, when they're missing the spinnerbait or chatter or something most of the time. So that's usually how I'll decide to crankbait. And I change throughout the day, you know, as the conditions are changing. I try to always change with them. Definitely.
Yeah. So do you have a crankbait of choice up there shallow? You talking square bills and stuff? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the best one's the Fritz Side 5.
Yeah, that's a good one,
Berkeley.
man.
Yeah, it really is. It's weedless. You can throw it into the middle of any tree and it just comes right through it. It doesn't get hung up. It's crazy. I mean, you know, David Fritz designed it, and he designed the DT6 too. So you
Yeah,
know,
he knows a little bit about crankbaits.
Yeah, yeah,
he's thrown one or two in his life.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
You ever throw that crankbait around grass edges or anything like that?
Yeah. So like I throw the crankbait around grass edges, but if the grass is like the grass has to have a defined edge, because if it's tapering or, you know, too many points and stuff, then, you know, a couple casts are good, and then the next cast I get hung up, and it's in a ball of hydrilla or grass or whatever it may be. And so that's when, you know, pull out the Texas rig, start dragging it, or something a little more weedless, like, you know, the spinnerbait or something. You know, try to get away from the crankbait. I stick to my treble hook baits when I'm around hard structure like rocks, docks, wood, you know, things like that.
Yeah, that Fritz side's nice, man. I started throwing it last year, and honey shad, I like that color a lot.
Yeah. Yep. Ghost Morning Dawn.
Yeah, it's a good
Yep.
bait. It's got a different look to it. It's a small bait, but it casts pretty well, and it's got a really good action. So it's a cool
I've
one.
been throwing it on a 7.6 medium heavy. No, sorry, 7.6 medium Veritas, and it's a light bait. It's small, but that 7.6 just whips it. You know, I can really sling it out there on that rod, and then it hooks them good too. So it's not the most accurate for fishing close, like target specific.
Right.
But when you need to, you know, you need to bomb it out on like a rock edge or something and not be as accurate, it's just a great rod.
I broke my last 7-foot medium Veritas, man. It was a sad day. I just broke it like 2 weeks ago. I won my first BFL on that rod. I had 3 of them, and I went through
Nice.
and I broke them all. But over the course, they've caught many fish. But it was a sad day. That 7-foot medium, I love that rod. It's a great rod. I got to get. Do you have any of the newer ones? The Veritas?
Xenon. I don't.
I mean, are
think
they
so,
different
no.
from the older ones? The action, because I'm gonna get another one. Do you know?
So I've got the Veritas winch,
Mm-hmm.
and those are good, great rods. And then the Abu Garcia, the Premier Fantasista, I think. Those are awesome. Then now they have Fantasista X, and then there's Xenon rods coming out, and those are like extremely light and maybe too sensitive. They're so sensitive. It's crazy. It's crazy how those ones are. But yeah, every rod that they've got on their line is great, and they all have different uses. Like I throw the Fritz Side 5 on the Veritas winch, 7.6 medium, and then and that's really it. Everything else I use is the Premier, the Fantasista X. You know, I flip with Fantasista, all that stuff, casting, swim jig, you know, all that. But that Veritas, it's really good for the crankbaits and top waters too. Any treble hooks like that.
You throw a swim jig on a what length rod do you throw a swim jig on?
I throw it on a 7.6 medium heavy.
Okay.
I like a lot of bend. I like the rod to bend well into it, especially when you're hooking a big one, because I don't want the hook to straighten out. I don't want too stiff of a rod, you know, because those hooks can open up easily. And it can be confusing because, like, let's say you have a day you catch 20 fish and 19 of them are under 3 pounds. You can have a heavy action rod and strong braid and have no issues with the hook, but you know, then you hook into like a 7 or something, and that hook opens up, and it's like, you know, you wonder like what happened. Well, yeah, it's a damn giant, and you got freaking heavy action rod and 65-pound braid, you know, and you're horsing them in and came off. So you just got to play them, you know, hook them, keep the line tight, and just play them. Let them big ones run if they want to run, you know.
Yeah, is that the same rod you would be throwing like a bladed jig on as well?
No, I throw a bladed jig on a 7.3 medium heavy, because I don't usually make really long casts with a bladed jig. That's a baited, you know, I'm going to be target casting to laydowns or a grass edge or docks or something. And so usually I'm not making full casts with that. Those are like 3/4 casts or a half of a cast. So a little shorter rod, I get a little closer to it.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I've been playing around with the 7'3" for my I don't know, for chatterbaits and swim jig. I always try to get like a rod that I can throw a couple things on, you know, comfortably, instead of having, I mean, because we got a John boat and you start getting 16 rods in there and it gets kind of out of hand pretty quick. So I try to limit it to 12,
like 15. 15.
It just keeps adding up. But
I say that every time I go to the lake, I'm gonna only take like 7 rods,
and then
5 rods.
We throw one more in.
Throw the spinning rod in there. Maybe I'll deep crank today. You know, by the time I get done, I got 16 rods sitting in the bottom of the boat. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've been hating it. You know, when I practice, I try to keep less than 10 rods on the deck. I don't want too much, you know, a couple different things, you know, and but the last couple practices I've had like 16, 18 rods out, and it's just a mess, you know, and then everything's getting tangled and stuff, and you know, so I want to get back to that 10 rods. 10 rods is a good number.
Yeah, we fish these Wednesday nighters, and a lot of the guys that do good, they have 3 rods. They have a jig, maybe 2 jigs and a worm. That's it. And I show up with like 9 rods, and they just look at me like, "What do you need all that for?" I just tell them, "I'm really dialed in, man. I'm really dialed in."
Yeah.
I got 9 fish picked out. I'm gonna catch one on each bait.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you guys talk about the Crestliner that he's running?
No. How you liking the Crestliner?
Yeah, it's a great boat, man. I'm running the new MX-21. This thing takes waves great. I was just up in Sturgeon Bay a few weeks ago, out there in big 4 to 5 foot rollers, and didn't spear a single wave. It's just so buoyant. It floats well. I'm impressed with it. It's aluminum. It's easy to tow with the truck. You just whip it around everywhere. It floats great. It's got like no draft. So far it's a great boat. Yeah, really.
How does it do in the windy conditions?
In the windy conditions, so if you're offshore, you know, it's okay. But if it's real windy, you know, you're going to want spot lock and stuff like that.
Right.
If you're fishing the bank, you know, that's where it depends on how good you are at controlling the boat with the trolling motor.
That boat sets up a little higher, right?
It sets up a lot higher. Yeah,
Right.
it's so the wind catches it more. But it's like a give and take because the days it's not windy, it's just great. You know, you're up higher. It's like it's higher than a fiberglass boat. You know, when I park next to guys at the dock, I'm like way above them. So it's great, you know, on those calm days, or if it's during the spawn, maybe you're sight fishing, you're going to see a little bit better.
You can see what they got tied on when you pull up next to them on the.
Yeah, exactly,
really
right.
get a look down there. It's like that truck driver on the interstate, man. You can see in the car below.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. Yeah.
But it drafts shallower, right? I mean,
it drafts in like nothing. And when see, it's like when the wind's going at a good direction and like it can push you down the bank, it's awesome. Because then you don't even hit your trolling motor and you're like sneaking up on the fish. It's like stealth like. And those are the days that I really catch them. And you know, not hitting the trolling motor at all, shut off all the graphs and just go. You know, and you know, so and that's where that aluminum benefits. It can really push you along quick too if you want to get moving. You know.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I know, man. We fish out of aluminum boats, and I had a 14-foot, 1442, and I sold it last year, and I got a 1650. And he's coming from a smaller boat to a bigger boat, and it's made a huge difference in how my boat handles in the wind, going from a 14 to a 16. Because that 14-footer, man, I mean, it was, when it got windy, it was squirrely. It was really hard to control. I mean, you had to really pay attention. If you hooked a fish and you weren't paying attention, the wind was blowing. Next thing you know, you're up on the bank, and the 16's a lot slower. So, you know, a 20 plus footer, I'm sure it's, you know, it's not like it's just pushing you down to make 100 miles an hour, you know?
Right.
So,
yeah, no, it's not that bad, but it's good that you guys are fishing out of smaller boats like that. You know, that's how I learned and John Cox learned. You know, we started in 12-foot aluminums, and you know, we used to take a raft and put a piece of plywood on top of it and fish off of that. We did all kinds of crazy stuff. But you know, we started out in a 12, then went to a 14, then 15, 16, actually 17, 8. We've had every foot model you could think of. But it's like the thing about it is you learn how to control a boat at 12 feet and how hard it is, like you're talking about, you know, and as you get into the 16-foot model, it's so much easier, but you've learned so much now, like how to control the boat in the wind, that it's just going to make you a better fisherman when you get into those bigger boats, I think.
Yeah, I know when I jumped in my Ranger, I've sold my Ranger a couple years ago, but it was, you're always wanting to be on the trolling motors. You think you're moving, the wind's blowing, and you really look down at your graph and you haven't moved 5 feet, but the wind's howling, and you think because you're coming from a 14-foot John boat or 15-foot John boat where the slightest breeze pushes you off the spot 10 or 15 feet. But we've gotten crazy enough now that we've both got Ultrexes on our John boats. So it's
that's so nice.
That is crazy. Yeah.
It's so nice. God, it's so easy.
I don't know how I fished without one now.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't made the jump yet. I'm still on a 4-Trex.
Are you really?
Yeah, I haven't done the Ultrex yet. So, I mean, I just can't, you know, I've struggled with the electronic noise when it turns, and it bothers me. And it might be absolutely nothing, and it's just in my head bothering me. But, you know, until that goes silent, I don't know if I'll be able to get one. But I fish extremely shallow, you know, I mean, like less than 1 foot year round often. Like even in Winnebago a few weeks ago, I was in 1 foot. Like my trolling motor was hitting bottom and I was casting shallower. You know, those fish get up with their backs touching the top of the water. And so any little advantage that I think I have, I'll take it, you know.
For sure.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, I can see where you're coming from on that. If you're fishing that shallow, there's a lot of noise, man. There's a lot of noise on that foot pedal and that head turning around for sure.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, I think Minn Kotas make some great trolling motors, but you know, yeah.
It bugged me up for a little bit the first couple times out. I get the noise, but I'm so used to it now. I just tone it out.
Well, I had the original wireless motor guide that they came out with,
Right.
and it was real loud. I mean,
Really?
I was used to that, and then I went to the Ultrex, and it was quite a bit quieter.
Yeah.
And then something like the Ghost by Lowrance is, you know, brushless, and it's really quiet. So
really quiet. Yeah.
that
might be the way to go then, huh?
Yeah, it might be. But you know, whatever you're used to, it's hard to change up.
Yeah.
So, well, I got to ask you real quick. Living down there in Florida, have you ever had any sort of Sasquatch sighting or anything like that? Or have you heard of anything?
Oh man, no, I haven't seen any. Yeah, I've heard of some guys seeing some around here, and I think they're out here in the woods. And there's one that lives out by Lake Toho. You know,
Yeah.
that a couple guys have said, but yeah, just I haven't seen them yet. I'm ready though, man. I'll get my phone out and film it.
Well, as shallow as you fish, you're close to the bank, so they're going to be on you like white on rice. I mean, they're going to be right there.
Yeah, I know they might just jump in and come in the boat with me and go
Yeah,
for
they
a
can
ride.
I think they call him a skunk ape down there in Florida. That's what they call him.
Oh, that's right. I've heard that. Yeah.
That's funny.
You never know, man. You just never know.
Mm-mm.
We got the numbers coming in now.
Yeah.
You can keep an eye on the numbers.
I got it. You keep going.
Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about. I want to touch. I got a couple more things I want to touch on. I definitely want to touch on grass. You know, fishing grass in the fall. You're down in Florida. Grass is something you're very familiar with. So if you go out to the lake, you know, you show up at the lake and there's grass everywhere. It's the fall time. Where do you start? I mean, what are some things you look for when you dump your boat in? You're going to go fish the grass.
Well, you know, it's like, okay, so let's say it's the fall. So that means maybe we've had a cold front or two and the grass is starting to break up a little bit. You know, it's starting to thin out. It's not growing like really abundant like it does in the summertime. So to me, that means it's time to go throw a frog. You know, you're gonna have some hydrilla, like let's say we're talking about hydrilla. You're gonna have hydrilla that has separated from the bottom. There's actually floating mats, which are full canopies, and you can frog over those. You know, you're going to be able to frog in the middle of the hydrilla where there's like thinner areas. And oftentimes you can see where the primitive came through and where other bass have blown through the hydrilla. You want to look for that stuff a lot. You know, often you can see that while you're riding on plane, and you'll just see little holes and just stop and throw the frog in them. You're looking for stuff that's out of the ordinary, not all the same kind of grass. You know, look for contour changes. You're looking for points. You're looking for depth changes, and just anything out of the ordinary. And then just stop and fish it and figure it out. You know, and that's part of the great thing about fishing is, you know, figuring it out in the moment. You know, what's happening and stuff, and putting that puzzle together, like Dudley says.
Yeah. Well, what about Florida, man? Because Florida's got. It's a lot different than, say, Tennessee River Lake. You know, you guys have different kinds of hyacinths and just, you know, just a lot of different stuff. I mean, that place looks real overwhelming to me because it's like nothing but grass. How the heck do you find the fish in that stuff?
That's hard, man. Florida is so hard to figure it out because we have so much grass. And like you said, we've got hyacinths, we have water lettuce, you know, we've got duckweed, you've got hydrilla, you got Kissimmee grass, lily pads, you got all this different vegetation. And if you take Lake Okeechobee, for example, the deepest spot out in the middle is like 6 feet deep, you know, 15 miles offshore. So it's like, you know, everything's shallow and it is hard to pick it apart. But you're just looking for like, you know, small areas that hold a few fish. And if you're lucky enough to find like 2 or 3 of those areas, then in the tournament, you know, you're always in productive water, you know, and you just rotate those 2 or 3 for the day or so. If you're fishing something local, it is hard though. You know, you're just looking for something out of the ordinary, you know, again, points and things like that. You know, maybe, you know, where there's some hydrilla that's next to a shell bar, or that could be something you Carolina rig, or you throw a rattle trap out there or a jerk bait or something in the wintertime. Yeah, it's a lot of fun though, man, when you find them stacked up on an edge of grass like that.
Yeah, that's the whole deal. Like you said, it's you're kind of hunting. It's not something that you can graph. You got to go in and just get dirty. And a lot of times it seems like you have to cover a lot of water before you actually stumble upon a few fish.
Right.
It's just a lot of sweat, blood, and tears, and just covering water. But
yeah, no,
when you
you're
find
right.
them,
It is.
You're good after you find them.
Right. That's the hard part, is figuring it out. And it is like, so my practice days typically go like where I put the trolling motor down and I keep it down and I'm just going and weeding throughout, eliminating bad water and figuring out where I can get bit or might get bites, in the tournament.
Gotcha. We still don't have a winner yet. We got a lot of numbers
No?
out there. No, surprise. People are all around it, but not yet. Keep on guessing.
That's funny.
So frog is one of the baits that you would use to attack the grass. What's a couple more baits that you have a lot of confidence in?
So yeah, frogging for sure. I like flipping anything I can flip, topped out hydrilla, hyacinths, all that. Flip a 1 ounce, with a big hook and the chigger crawl, put that on there. That's great. I like to chatterbait the grass. You can throw that down the edge and just reel it. That's typically something you're going to want to throw when it's a little bit windier and cloudier. Rattle trap if you're near a shell bar, that's great stuff to throw. So the guy's getting close.
Yeah, we got it.
We just got it. I got
Oh,
it back up.
good.
Yeah, there it is.
No, that's not it.
That's not it.
No.
Oh no, that's not it. I'm sorry.
It's down.
Where's it at? Where's it at?
Same guy.
Same guy.
Yeah, couple more. There you go. There it is.
You got it, man. He went prices right on us, man. He went like 102, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106. There you go, Andy. Congratulations. I think I already have your information. If not, send it to me anyway. Gabe Montgomery on Facebook or 10 Horse Monty 6 on Instagram, and I'll get you some stuff out. Actually, it's kind of cool. I was over at Cedar yesterday.
Okay.
And a guy approached me. He's a viewer and he fishes a lot of tournaments over there. And he said, "Hey, would you like some more stuff for a giveaway on the live stream?" And I'm like, "Well, heck yeah, man." So
awesome.
Anyway, he's gonna get with me and we're gonna have a little bit of next level giveaways coming up.
Nice.
So we'll
nice.
probably beef up like 3 or 4 giveaways and just I was thinking of doing some I don't know, some of my favorite stuff for fall fishing. Just have maybe some like a chatterbait package and then maybe a punching package and maybe a frog package or something.
You're gonna throw in like 15 or 22 ounce weights.
No, we're not doing the tungsten weights, man. It'd just be like a little box of tungsten weights. That's it.
Yeah,
Speaking of
give away some 1 ounces.
Yeah,
we were talking about punching grass, and this has been our argument for like the last 3 months. What's your setup? Let's straight shank or EWG?
Straight shank. Yeah.
Okay. Snell
Definitely.
or no snell?
No snell. Palomar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the way that works is you want the Palomar on the straight shank, and you just let the gap of the hook do the work there. And when you're pulling it, the gap of the hook's going to do all the work. When you do the snell knot and you try to add something fancy where you set the hook and the hook flips up, and it depends on how the fish eats it if it actually hooks them well or not. Because I've had many times with the snell knot where I hook them perfect, and then if they eat it funny, I'll hook them right in the tongue because it'll flip that way, and then they die from that. And so I've noticed I hook a lot less fish in the tongue with the Palomar knot and just letting the gap of the hook do the work. And the other issue with the snell knot is that when you're flipping heavy vegetation, like let's say you have a 1 ounce or an ounce and a half on, if you notice that when you're before you pitch the bait into the vegetation, when you're holding your rod up, the bait is like sideways and then the weight is on top. Like it's not like with the Palomar, it's all in line.
Yeah.
And then, but with the snell, it's like this, and then the weight's over here, and so it doesn't go through the stuff. A lot of times it's just getting stuck. It's not actually punching through. because it's like got the angle to it, you know. So that's another reason why I only use the Palomar knot. But
yeah, I think you might get more line twists too, maybe reeling it in. I don't know. What do you think about that?
That's true. No, I'm with you because it's not falling straight because it's at an angle, so it's like spiraling as it's going down. Yeah, I mean, it's not for me. I don't like it. I know that there's many great flippers who swear by the snell knot, but I'm not one of them. You know, I just like the Palomar.
So straight shank
Palomar.
Yeah,
Okay.
like a 3/0, you know, heavy hook, super line or something. 3/0 is the one I like. 4/0's good too. Depends on the size of the crawl you're using. You know,
Right.
if you're using something small like a chigger crawl, use 3/0. You know, if you're using something bigger, you know, go with the 4/0. But
What's your reel of choice gear ratio speed?
I like a 6/6 to 1, but I also flip a 1 ounce with a 7/3 to 1.
Okay.
But no more above that, because then it's just too weak. It's like, you know, you can't gain on very well. But that 6/6 is really good. Just good cranking power. You know, it's fast enough to keep up with them. You know, you don't get slack in your line or anything. Yeah, that's what my
Do you do
favorite.
the same with the frog?
No, a frog I'll throw. Yeah, I guess so. I'll throw a frog again. Yeah, 6/6 or a 7/3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 50 or 65-pound braid?
50. Yeah.
50. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to go with 50. The lightest you can get away with is your best bet.
On both the frog and the pit flipping.
Yeah, man. Try a frog, like take a frog one day and put one on, say, 30 braid and put one on 50. Same frog, you get different action. And you know, I started messing around with that stuff where I actually put braid on a spinning rod with 10-pound braid and, you know, sling frogs around, and it's like they walk so great. You get way more bites. And you'll actually be surprised how strong 10-pound braid is. You know, you can crank some giants in on that stuff and it won't break. And it's so thin, like it'll just cut right through pads and stuff when they make
Yeah.
a run to the side. So you learn a lot that way. Yeah, that's fun. A lot of fun, you know, catching fish on 10-pound braid.
Andy wants to know, have you tried the new Spro frog?
I haven't. No. Yeah, I
So
wonder if that
what's some
one's
of your
good.
frogs? What you got a couple favorite frogs you like to throw?
Yeah, I like man, I like the jackall. The Kayera frog, that one walks pretty well. You know, I throw the Spro popping frog, one with the orange mouth on it.
Yeah.
That one's pretty good. You know, I just bought some new frogs, trying some new stuff out. Bought the new Teckle frogs and stuff. Bobby's perfect frog is a good one. You know, that one's good. So yeah, there's some good ones out there. I like the ones that have the best hookup ratio. You know, where you don't have to set the hook really hard. You know, some of the ones where the hooks just, you know, when they compress the frog, it just hooks them easily.
Yeah. I think that's key, is having that softer body. There are some stiff frogs out there, and then having a hook too. You know, like some of them have. Well, Spro actually has a pretty small hook on the frog, but it still seems to hook up fairly well for whatever reason.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Maybe their plastic is soft enough. You know.
Yeah.
Do you do any frog modifications?
Not really. No, I throw them out of the box. The only thing I do is I shorten the tassels. The shorter you go with the tassels, the better it walks side to side usually. So I do shorten the tassels almost always, unless they're, you know, cut just right from the factory.
Same length, different lengths?
A slightly different length.
Yeah.
And then I, you know, cut them just like a frog, like if you looked at a real frog and the way their legs go. So like inside is a little bit longer and the outside of the tassels are a little bit shorter. Try to cut them at like a 45 that way, and that also allows it to walk better too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, if you got any more questions for Keith, get him on here. We're going to ask just a couple more things, and we'll let him go because he's on Eastern time, so it's approaching 10 o'clock his time. So I didn't realize that for some reason until we talked earlier today.
Oh, that's okay.
So a couple things. Max scent, man. What do you think about max scent?
Yeah.
Do you think it makes a difference, or do you think
Yeah.
it's just a bunch of hublub?
Yeah, I mean, Maxent, that stuff really works. I've had times where I'm bed fishing and not using Maxent, and the fish is interested but not eating it or picking it up by the pinchers, and then I'll switch to a Maxent creature hog, flip it in there, hop it, and they just suck it in like all the way. And that's happened so many times that I'm like, this stuff's got to work. It does something.
Yeah.
And especially on the slow baits, reaction type stuff, not so sure, if it's a reaction or do they smell it. But, when you're throwing like the general wacky rigging, it's got to help, it really does. So, yeah, it's good stuff.
I noticed that the other day I was fishing Cedar, our little local lake here, and I was throwing, I think it was, an old monster, just straight out of the package, nothing special, fishing down this edge, and I wasn't getting bit, and I switched to that hit worm.
Yeah.
Texas rig, just threw it on the same setup and threw it out there. In the first cast, I caught like a 3.5. It's like, I just went through this area with this old monster that I've caught fish on all day long, and then knew this area had fish in it and didn't get bit. So I switched to that, and I caught probably 4 or 5 within 10 minutes, all in the same little area. So,
dang, that's awesome.
I'm a believer in it.
There's something to it, especially like you said, if you're fishing really slow. I think I've seen it make a difference. I think it's like the slower you fish it, the better it is. Like it seems like it brings fish to it,
draws
them in.
Man.
I don't know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, really, it does. I'm with you.
It smells like catfish bait too. So
yeah, it's terrible. Yeah,
it's like the old choppers. You never want to bite into one of them.
Yeah, no.
Stephanie wants to know, if you're Texas rigging and they are biting but won't take it, what would you change to? I'd change to max scent, honestly.
Yeah, switch to the max scent and that'll get it done for you. Or just let them take it a little bit longer if you need to. There are days like that when they eat it and you set the hook and you're missing a bunch, and just let the next one hang on to it for 10 seconds, see if you hook them better.
A lot of times, like I'll run that, fishing that old monster. I'll go from the old monster to like a mag 2, or even down to just like that hit worm, that straight tail worm. Anything just to downsize. That's been a big key for me. So
yeah,
downsizing until you can find what they're wanting, because obviously they're not wanting that. They're not committing to that bait, Stephanie. So moving to a bait that they want, whether it may be Texas rig creature bait, maybe throw a speed crawl out there, or a creature hog, but try something a little bit different. Still Texas rig.
Yeah, and it could be color too. Swap, change your color up. Sometimes that happens.
I'm pretty simple with colors, though. I got
Me
like
too.
3 colors in my boat.
So. Yeah, that's how I am. Yeah.
Frankie Spicer says he fished Toho in Florida over the weekend, and they were biting. They were hitting rattle traps. Rattle traps are doing the job. So anybody down there in Florida, if you get out there, throw your rattle trap.
Yeah, sometimes there's a trap bite, man. Like when Swindle won the Open years ago, and he caught like, I don't even remember what he had. Didn't his co-angler have like 3 9-pounders or something?
Yeah, it was something crazy like that.
Yeah, and that was that trap bite. And there's times, man, you can get on a trap bite and it is unreal like that. And I've only hit it once with the trap, but it was just like 8-pounders. Like every cast, you couldn't even get to the bottom, and they're eating it.
Now, you guys may have talked about this before I got here. How close to Headwaters are you?
2 hours.
Is it?
So I haven't been there a ton.
Is it as phenomenal as everybody says it is?
Yeah, well, it was better when it first opened. So
right.
I think it opened a year ago or something like that. And I went when it first opened. John Cox and I went and we caught 60 fish. 40 were over 4 pounds. We had, easy in the mid-20s and stuff. And each time we went, got a little bit worse. And now I haven't been in a few months, but we went, 4 or 5 months ago, and we only caught like 6 fish all day long.
Oh, wow.
We went a few months ago. Yeah, it wasn't good. And the biggest was like 3 pounds. But since then, I talked to another guy who went and he said he caught like over 40 pounds with his 5 biggest, and he caught an 11. And caught tons and tons of fish. So
Oh no,
we lost him. He'll get back on here. We talked about that. Yeah, I mean, any fishery, I don't care what it is. After the word gets out, it starts getting pounded.
I mean, you remember Kincaid when they caught that state record crappie? What was that, 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah,
man, every crappie fisherman in the state was hung up there. So
yeah, and it's could have just been a bad day. Yeah, you're back, man. It could have been a bad day, like a cold front day too, that you and John hit. You know, the headwaters.
It could have been, yeah. I think it was. So
let's see. Okay, let's. I got one more question for you, and then we'll let you go, man. It's been a good time. So give me your favorite John Cox story.
Oh, geez. Okay, so there was one time we were John and I were fishing the Winter Haven chain here in Florida, and the Winter Haven chain, it's like, well, yeah, it's a chain of lakes, tons of different lakes, but in between them, some of them in the summertime are so shallow. There's actually sandbars that go across the whole one, the whole canal, and so we were trying to get to Lake Mirror, I think, and we were fishing out in the main lake, and we were catching some fish. We had like 17 pounds or so. And he's like, "Hey, you want to hit that sandbar? We'll just hit it on plane, go back there and see what we catch." And I'm like, "I guess, And the sandbar was about 20 feet deep, and I didn't want to hit it too hard because there was bridge pilings on the other side where it dropped off, and I didn't want to hit it too soft either and get stuck on the sandbar. You're not allowed to get out of the boat and push the boat into waterways. It's against the rule of the tournament. So I hit this thing pretty hard. We were in a VT17, a Crestliner, a little 17 with a 50, and I hit it doing like 35. And as soon as I nail the sandbar, the motor flies out of the water, and the boat turns, and we're heading straight at a piling. And I'm trying to steer, and I've got nothing. And I'm like, oh, crap, So the boat comes down, and as soon as it comes down, we hit the piling, and we're like, bam, like the whole trolling motor like came up off the bracket. It was a disaster. So like we're working on everything, and we get everything working. We get in the lake, and we catch like 20 pounds in 10 minutes. And we get out of there, and we run back to the tournament, and we win the whole tournament.
Oh, wow.
We caught them all in like 10 minutes. Yeah, it was crazy.
Whose boat was it, yours or John's?
Mine, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I got a feeling you probably got a bunch of stories like that, man.
Oh yeah, we've jumped over so many trees and hit so many things, and hitting all kinds of stuff on plane, and just see if we can get over it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you guys out there haven't seen the video, it's on YouTube. It's on Abu Garcia's YouTube page. It's called 10 Boat Dreams, I do believe. It's the video with Keith and John. I watched it today. I watched it twice. It's really good. It gives you a little bit more background of Keith and John's friendship and how they grew up just a few houses down or a few streets down, and their team tournament fishing history. It's a really good watch. It's actually real inspirational. I like the part about the soul fishing, bringing the soul into fishing. That hit me. Like I was telling you earlier, I was just kind of having a down week or something, and for some reason I watched that video, and it just kind of pepped me up, and for some reason I needed to watch that video. So thanks for making that video, man.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's good. That's something that we, the soul fishing, it's a whole thing where, just part of basically just keeping it simple, like we spoke about earlier. It's so easy to get spun out, and there's so many baits, and social media is always trying to sell you a bait, the next best thing, and all these glide baits and different things, and it's like you don't need all that. Fish your strength, and stick to who you are, and you probably do pretty well throughout your life.
And Andy says he likes your Foo Fighters shirt.
Oh yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it's my brother's, actually. I took it from him. Yeah.
I saw a video a couple of days ago where Dave Grohl brought the Foo Fighters were somewhere, and they brought some young girl up on stage, and she started playing drums, and she was just killing it. It was
No
super
way.
impressive.
They've done that quite a
Yeah,
bit.
they do that. Yeah,
They'll bring up a kid and play guitar. It was Kiss guy. I remember one of them was an older guy, and he had
Kiss makeup on or whatever, face
everywhere.
paint.
And I mean, he fit the part. I mean, he went up there and he rocked it out.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Yeah, if you get up on stage,
that's
you better
awesome.
know what you're doing. But
Yeah,
that little girl,
for
she's
real.
like 12. She got back behind that kid, and she was doing the stick spins and
Yeah.
all the baton twirls, and she was just
Holy
locked
crap.
in, just hammering down on it. It was impressive, man.
That's awesome. Yeah. Especially to do in front of Dave Grohl. He's like one of the best drummers.
Yeah, exactly.
He's good at everything. Yeah.
He is. I think it's really cool that he's not so big-headed that he can't invite somebody up out of the crowd just to sit in with the band. That's good
Right.
stuff. That's giving back to the fans, you know. That's what
Exactly.
It's about.
Yeah.
So, well, we're gonna wrap this up, man. I really appreciate you taking time out of your evening and spending it with us and the viewers on here. And good luck this next tournament, man. We're really pulling for you. We'll be rooting for you, and we'll all be anxiously awaiting to see how it all turns out.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks a lot for having me. Had a great time. Great questions. Thank the viewers. Congratulations to the guy who picked number 106. I forgot your name already, but had a great time, and man, looking forward to coming on again with you guys.
Cool, man.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, Keith.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, man. Have a good evening.
See you.
All right, cool. Good times, man. Good times. Like I said, it's 10:07 his time. 10:08. He's on Eastern time. So he was nice enough to come on here and spend some time with us.
For sure.
Really cool guy. He's got awesome. He's got a little bit of John Cox mixed with a little bit of Mikey Balls, that Florida flavor.
Right.
Just a good dude, man. Good dude. We talked before the stream on my way home from work, and just a good guy. He's a great fisherman.
He's a real guy too.
Yeah, he's straight up, man.
That's awesome.
Shallow water guy, just like John. So next week we've got supposed to have Matt Robertson on. I don't know if you guys have heard of Matt Robertson. He's Catawba, Kentucky Lake guy, Tennessee River guy. He's fishing the Bassmaster Elites. I think this is his second year. He's fished a couple classics. Pretty good fisherman. I know some people in this area have probably fished with him, drew him in BFLs or Toyota Series or Bass Opens or whatever.
Or fished against him.
I fished against him.
And he possibly took your money.
Yeah, he's the mayor of the trailer park. Quite a character. So I reached out to him, and we're going to talk about, I'd like to dive into swim baits. You know, I know he's really good at that offshore ledge type stuff.
Big swim baits.
Yeah, at least 6, 7, 8-inch swim baits. So guys, after this is over, leave some questions that you would like me and Jonathan to ask Matt when he gets on here. That always helps us out. It kind of gives us a little bit of a, just something to work off of, because we've got some of the stuff we like to ask, but some of you guys may not be able to make it next week if you're not, or you may forget. That way we've got a little running list and we can bring those questions up. And
or you got ball practice and you show up late.
Right. So same place, same time, 7:30. And then after that, I got a few things we're working on. And like I said earlier, we're gonna try to continue to do these little giveaways all the way through the winter. Just kind of a way to give back to you guys that are loyal, been on here. Like, we see a lot of the same people on here every week, and it means a lot to us. It's really cool. There'll be a few people that just drop in and drop out, but most of these names are, you consistently stop by here and spend time with us on Monday night, and it means a lot. It really does mean a lot, because it's time. You could be watching anything you want. You could be on, Netflix or YouTube or whatever, but you're carving out a little bit of time to spend with us. And
it still amazes me that people want to watch us two goons do a live stream.
There's a lot to learn, though.
I know. I get it. That's why I wanted to join in on this. I wanted to get in on the fun. So,
Jay's got a grandson birthday coming up. I'm hoping it's going to be a long time before I have to say I'm a grandpa. I'm hoping. My kids are 13. I mean,
I got 2 and 7,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I'm in no hurry.
None
We're
at
gonna be
all.
driving in 3 years.
I can't believe that.
It goes by so quick.
I remember when they were born.
Oh.
Craziness.
Anybody got any questions on here for us? Anything you want to talk about for 5-10 minutes? If not, we'll break it down. I went over to Cedar yesterday. There was the Kincaid Bass Club was out there.
I know. Was that a 2-dayer?
No, I think it was a 1 day.
Okay.
They weighed in. They fish by themselves, which is kind of cool.
Is it 1 over and then 4 unders?
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I think it took 9 pounds to win, and then 8 something second, and 8 something.
Somebody had a good one then.
Yeah, somebody had a 5 plus. I was actually over there. I kind of pilfered around the parking lot for like an hour and a half, just talking to people.
Gotcha.
And it seems like everybody had an over, but it was a morning deal. Most people called them really good for the first 2 hours, and then it kind of got slowed down. Just
that's how it's
typical.
been lately.
It's just typical.
If you're not in the right area between daylight and 2 hours past daylight, it doesn't seem like it's
it's
doing
just,
good.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just slow, and I'm about tired of slow fishing. I don't know about you.
I spent almost 3 hours punching yesterday.
Doing good?
No, never got a bite. I got 2 bluegill bites.
Well, I looked at the extended forecast. Not this weekend, but next weekend. High is like 80, and the low is in the high 50s.
They're just not
excited about that.
They're just not in there yet.
What was water temperature?
80.
Okay, we're getting there.
79 to 81, depending on where I was at.
Better than 90.
Yeah, they're just not there. How is Egypt fishing right now? I was over there. It's been about a week or so. I don't know if you saw. I did a 12 ways to catch a fish on a speed crawl. I don't know how many ways I actually caught a fish on a speed crawl, but that was on Egypt, and that was about a week and a half ago, maybe. Fishing was good. It was really good. I got another video coming out from over there where I caught them. I found them schooling, caught them on topwater. So there's a lot of that schooling going on over there. A couple key places down lake. If you know any areas where they school in the past, definitely go check those areas because that's going on right now. Now, most of the fish are small. You're catching a lot of 13 to 14 inch fish, but as the water starts cooling down, those bigger fish will start migrating into those areas. And there's a lot of small shad, a lot of 1 inch shad, 1.5 inch shad. So, I don't know. I was still throwing the Super Spook Junior and catching them, but I have noticed that as it gets further into the year and those fish start getting hammered more and more, they get really, really picky, and you almost have to go to something even smaller, something clear, like a clear spook or something that can get see-through with maybe just a small feather on the back, or like that Sarah puppy, a really small, tiny torpedo that usually gets bites. Maybe
Are you
that
working
75
faster as the year goes on?
I'm moving it.
Yep.
I'm keeping it moving.
I don't want, when I'm fishing the topwater, I don't want them to have a good look at it.
No,
I don't want them to read the paint on the bottom of or read what kind of spook I'm throwing. I want them to have to chase it down and get mad at it. So
no, like a popper. Sometimes I'll hit it a couple times. Sometimes I'll work a popper fast.
Yeah,
but a spook, I typically
if it's a walking bait, a cane walker, a super spook, a vixen, any of those baits, I'm pumping it. And I'm throwing it on usually 50-pound braid, and I'm by the end of the day, it's my forearm is burning.
It's a lot of work.
I know you talked about fishing BFLs. It was like this week, I had qualified for day 2 of the Super. It's been a handful of years ago, but we threw a spook all day the first day, and I had, I think, 2 or 3 fish. I didn't weigh much, but it didn't take much. It doesn't ever take much down at Kentucky Lake in September. I got out the next morning, and I went to throw the spook, and I made like 4 twitches with it, and it didn't do anything. It just because my arm was it was spent. So I ended up throwing a spinnerbait all day, so I didn't have to work that spook anymore. So
pitching can get like that. If you can work a spook with the reel,
you just gotta get your timing right.
You gotta get your timing right. I've been kind of working on that. You barely even have to move your rod. Yep. But once you get that groove, you can actually do it.
And it's so much easier on your wrist.
It doesn't go that far, but it still does that.
Right.
But yeah, So Egypt, yeah. I haven't talked to Ron in a while. I know Ron's over there. He just got his boat back. He had his lower unit go out on his Pro XS. He only had 137 hours on it, something. It went out. But anyway, he's got that back, so he'll be out there a lot more. And I definitely can get a report from him. But I would look for those fish to be schooling in the backs of the creeks. I mean, I'm probably going to go over there in the next week or so, and I'm going all the way to the backs of one of those creeks and working my way out. I'm going to throw a swim jig. I'm going to throw a buzz bait.
How's the grass over there?
The grass is really good. It's the best I've seen it in a long time.
That's what I heard.
It's starting to come back. It looks good. It looks really, really good.
I think a lot of how that do with the power plant shutting down.
I don't know.
I was talking to a friend of mine.
I really don't know.
He was, and I don't know what the correlation of this is, but he said when the power plant really started generating, when they had good grass, they started really pumping out the juice in the power plant. The good grass went away.
That's interesting.
And then now I hear that I haven't been over there in a handful of years, but I hear the grass is really good right now. So
I don't know
if the power plant has anything to do with that. I'm not a biologist, and I'm not going to claim to be, but it is kind of.
I mean, I figured a lot of the dock owners sprayed it.
Yeah.
And maybe it hasn't gotten bad enough again to where they've thought to spray it again.
Right.
And we'll know if it does continue to grow up and get around docks and all of a sudden it disappears. Well, then obviously they sprayed it.
Right.
But it looks good. It's a lot of those points have nice grass out there in that 8-foot zone, and it's crisp, it's healthy, it's bright green,
breaks off really easy,
and it's not going to do anything but help the fishing. Yeah, Wren Lake was pretty tough. I saw that. Jay was talking about the regional over there. Pre-fish Saturday was good. Caught 10 keepers.
10 keepers is
yeah,
a heck of a day over there.
That's impressive.
Seth fished Kincaid, had some good luck in Johnson Creek.
I need to get back over there again. I actually got it. I went over there about 2 weeks ago. I got a video coming out. I've made a couple of videos that I've just been sitting on. I haven't dumped them yet. So you're going to see another Egypt video and a Kincaid video sometime pretty soon. Kincaid, man, it's going to be really good here in about a month. That's probably the.
Ray Walsh asked Kincaid any advice.
When's your tournament, Ray? It gets real good here in about another month. I mean, for me, it does. I like to punch grass. I like to play around the grass, and that lake gets on. It can get really, really good here coming up. It's close.
The first couple of weeks that we get a cold snap and they get under the grass, just like cedar. Mm-hmm. It's just if you're the first one in there to do it, you're going to have better luck than the 35th guy that comes in there.
Yeah, Jay says he thought they sprayed it. That's what I've heard too. I've heard that the homeowners sprayed around their docks and it just kind of worked its way out, because the grass over there at Egypt was almost non-existent like 2 years ago.
Right.
I started noticing a little bit last year, and then this year it looks really, really good. Yeah, Stephanie, the pleasure boaters, if you go over there, I can't remember what day I was on. It was a weekday I was over there. There was hardly anybody there. It was unbelievable. I'm fishing out of a 16-foot boat, and I could have went anywhere I wanted. I mean, there were literally like 10 boats on the lake. There was a couple pontoons just kind of putting around the marina, but out on the main lake.
That was during the week.
I was during the week, but I mean, in the summer, like pre-kids going back to school,
right.
You go over there in the week, and there's still boats everywhere.
Right.
So it's definitely changed. Now, I don't know about Sunday or Saturday or Sunday.
I would imagine Saturday and Sunday, if we continue to have 50, 60, or 50 or 60, 85 degree days, yeah, it's going to be packed. Because, I mean, when I'm coming home from Cedar on Saturday or Sunday at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm still seeing boats, big boats, head across the bridge and out of Missouri. So, yeah.
Yeah, we just need some cold days. Some cold days will shut all that down. And there's always going to be that rogue jet skier out there. But it's changed a lot.
40-degree water temperature, and he thinks he's got to run across the lake.
But you can, like, who was that said they fished Johnson Creek?
That was Seth.
Okay, like Seth was saying, you can always get back there in Johnson Creek, or you can go back in Paul Ice.
3 miles and no wake.
Yeah, and there's always good fishing back in there. You just gotta get there, which is not too big of a deal, really.
Well, you can put it in at Johnson Creek, depending on what boat you got.
Yeah, sure.
There's a boat ramp in the back of Johnson Creek that it's kind of hairy getting in and out of there, but it's definitely doable. So
Kincaid was nuts. It was after about 10 o'clock. I went over there a couple times this year, and after about 10 o'clock, I didn't really want to be out at the main lake. Actually, the day I was over there, and Jay was over there too. And I got off the water pretty early. You can't really move around. I mean, you can, but you definitely can't fish any main lake points. Not in my boat, not a 16-foot aluminum boat.
Even the guys that are fishing in 21-foot glass boats, you don't see them out there fishing the main lake. About 10:30, 11 o'clock, every one of them shows back up in Johnson Creek.
Yeah,
so
it's too much work.
A lot of the good points back there, they're all down that whole arm. At least in my experience, that's where I like to fish at, is in that arm. And they like to ski in that arm, and they'll come buzzing by you and making laps.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got a number for me, because I always have one that decides to do donuts out in front of me. So, and
it's so tight down through that.
It doesn't wash out. It hits and then it reverbs back to you.
Yeah.
So if a wave can reverb, I don't know.
I think it does. Yeah, Seth, they did. You're right. I forgot about that. They dredged that out to 5 foot back there in Johnson Creek.
I know that I was over there earlier this year, and I still missed that dredge apparently, because I puked mud for a while.
Did you? It's a whole lot better.
When I found it coming back in, it was great.
Yeah,
but there was one spot I missed
You got to watch that flat once you get around that point.
When you think you're good, you're not. You got to
You still got to stay to the left a little bit and hang around. As long as the water's at full pool, it's no big deal. Jay, I'm ready for a jerkbait bite as well. Like I was saying earlier, you know what I've been throwing in my pond? I've been throwing a floating Rapala minnow.
Like old
school?
Broke
it out, dude. Broke it back out, and I got a couple rogues that are floating rogues.
We'll talk about that.
They still work
down the road.
They still work, man. Let's see if I missed anything here. Looks like we caught everything. We're caught up.
Looks like it.
Hope you guys enjoyed the stream tonight. It was fun, man. It was a good time. I thought, Florida, I don't know. I like to get down there, but from what I've seen, it looks so overwhelming that, like Okeechobee, you look at that, you're like, I don't know. I guess you just have to get down there and check it out. Around here, we got grass, but it seems like it's manageable.
Well, when I went to Chick, I've been down there twice, maybe 3 times. Twice, I guess. You've been down there at least once. When I pulled up to Chick, and I drove in that night, and my headlights, we were camping the first time I was down there, and my headlights caught this grass flat that we were fishing, or that we were camping next to. And I about lost my mind. I was like, how can nobody catch? Because I talked to my buddy who had been down there for a couple of days, and he said he wasn't catching anything. I'm like, dude, there's grass everywhere. We're going to catch them all day long. Let's go. Well, when we pulled out on the main lake and you see a grass mat that was 2, 3, 4, 5 miles long, that was overwhelming. When you couldn't, we're used to being able to cast across a grass mat or at least see the other side of the grass mat. Some of these grass mats were just insane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're I was just, since Jay is on here, I just wanted to show this.
I just saw something over there that I like.
Yeah, these are some big old fat worms. So this is the Hawgz 8-inch straight tail. This is a big old worm. And since Jay's on here, I wanted to let him know that that's now officially called the gangster worm.
Was that yours or his?
That's my name. I just call it that. So
I love it. I thought that was.
If you're going to send me a pack of worms with no name, I'm going to end up naming it something. But yeah, Hawgz Custom Baits, man. Go check them out on Facebook.
Is this a secret? Or can I show that?
That's no, you can show that. That's an old school paddle tail.
Yeah.
Yeah, just big old stuff. Big old stuff. This is really big. You can't really tell, but
yeah, that one's
anyway.
Here.
That's a Sharpie.
It's as big as the Sharpie, dude.
Yeah, that's pretty good size worm.
That's
pretty cool stuff.
Chunk. Awesome. Yeah. Shout out to Jay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be throwing that here in a couple weeks down at Lake of the Ozarks. Put that on Magnum Shaky Head and flip it around those docks. I got that.
You're gonna catch that 6-pounder that lives down there.
I need 2 fish. I need
That's
2 keepers.
You got the math worked out.
I need 5 pounds, but I'm going to try to catch 12. Because if
Why
you
don't you
say
try to
5,
catch
you end up
15?
catching 2. Okay, I'm going for 15.
Go catch 15.
Yeah.
He's going to catch 15 both days.
Mike Russell's supposed to be sending me some Chappos.
Is this the regional or is this the?
This is the super.
Okay, so both days you're going to catch 15. You're going to win the thing.
That's right. I like that. I got some Bone Ranger Chappos coming sometime from Mr. Russell. And apparently that's what they bite on down Lake of the Ozarks. So Mike's got me all talked into it.
That's all you need.
Throwing the 90 millimeter Chappo, Bone Ranger.
Never putting it down.
Game over.
Throwing it all day long.
Yep. All day long.
I love it.
Contest. Name that worm. Yeah, we got to do that.
What was it? The gangster worm.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Contest. What should this worm be named? We got 2 worms. People that are on here, this will be fun. Participation. This is like an 8-inch worm. This is a 10-inch worm with a paddle tail. Straight tail worm, green pumpkin, purple, old school spade paddle tail. Any names? Anybody got any names? I came up with the gangster worm because it's just so big.
Big Papa.
Big Papa.
Big Pimpin'.
They got another worm that Eric sent me a picture of. It's like a 7 1/4. It's kind of a Magnum trick wormish size. It's a little bit smaller than this.
Okay.
So they got the 6 1/4.
I like that. I like that fatty.
Yeah. I mean, you can always cut that down too. That's not too big.
I'm gonna try to punch with that.
You try to punch with that.
I'll catch those big crappie that you catch punching.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Big Mama.
Big Mama. Yeah, Jay, I know. That's what me and Mike were talking about that last night. He said that Bone Ranger was the deal. I just couldn't get over the name of that Bone Ranger. It just cracks me up. It's apparently it was painted for an Army Ranger.
Okay.
And it's a bone color.
Yeah.
So
Bone Ranger.
There you go.
Perfect.
It's nothing more than that. Yeah, Brian, I hope I see you down there, man. Good luck. September can be tough down there. I don't know. I caught them last year on a jig. You know, I caught so many fish swimming a jig and just dragging a jig. And I caught one keeper after I probably caught like 25 fish that day.
What's the length limit in there?
15. Jeez. It's like cedar. You catch a bunch of 14.5-inch fish.
Yeah. It's
unbelievable. 14 3/4. You know, every once in a while, I want to be.
Hey, at least you're catching fish. You know, the last couple of years that we fished down there at LBL, it was, if you caught a fish,
it was exciting.
It was exciting.
Yeah. So, no, there'll be plenty of fish caught. It could just be hard to get a 15-inch fish out of the back of the boat sometimes.
Just don't do like I did and think it's a 16-inch minimum, which you fish down there. But
no,
I did that at Kentucky Lake.
Yeah. No, I'll know. Believe me. I'm not going to be throwing. I won't throw 15.5-inch fish back. I'll just be glad to get one in the boat. Yeah. So
I did that twice. So. Same day, not different days for all people that are counting, but that would have been a limit because I weighed in 3.
Yeah, sob story.
Yeah, took 11th.
At least you didn't jump them off like I would do.
Yeah.
Good luck down there, Frankie. He's fishing the BFL. Is that your super tournament? The 2-day probably is.
It's got to be. We're winding the season down.
So good luck. The Big Monty. Hey, now we're talking. I'm thinking Gangster Worm is the 8-inch straight tail, and the little paddle tail might be the Big Monty because it's got some little sassy flip backhanded.
Are you saying you're sassy?
I can be.
Yeah.
Frankie says, yeah.
Good deal.
All right, man. We're going to shut this down. Appreciate everybody on here for hanging out with us and chatting, and we will see you next week, same place.